Okay,
Hi.
let's do it. I was curious about this. Uh, First, let me ask you a question. Do you, do you have any problems with questions when people come to you with questions about things? Is there any time where you find them offensive? Is there any time
I
where
think
you
I have before. I think I have in the past where certain questions I would take offense to or kind
haven't?
of give the look like it's a little personal,
Yeah,
kind of thing. I could say yeah at some point I did. Now, not so much.
yeah. You get a knee jerk reaction, right? You're you're kind of, wait, what? You might be taken aback by it. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean it was an offensive question, but
Yeah.
you're kind of, I don't know you. Why are you asking me this question?
Yeah, and I think it's also the delivery of the question. I think for the most part you can tell, or at least I can tell when it's not coming off other than sincere curiosity. But also when someone is different than you and you meet them, most people are curious and they want to ask questions. So I think it just yeah, some of them I'm like, "Wait, what?" A lot of my initial responses is I just start laughing before I actually get to the answer of the question.
Yeah.
But offensively, I don't recently, like I don't think so. But before when I was younger, I would say yeah.
The one I remember the most was when I was a kid. Um, so if you're new to me or us, my dad is black, my mom is white, and I came out on the low pigment scale and have the blue eyes and the light skin, and it's possible for me to sunburn. Um, so when I was a kid, I got more tan when I was a kid just because I was outside more. I don't go outside as much.
Mhm.
I'm in my 40s. I got to be careful. But
Mhm.
uh yeah, so I'd be tan with these blue eyes, this curly hair. I know you can't see it now because it's in a ponytail, but um, I, I I get the curls and the fro, and
You have beautiful curls.
thank you. Um, but a lot of adults, and you know, obviously mostly white adults, would come up to me and just be like, "Oh my gosh, what are you?"
Mm.
Like, "Your hair's so curly, but your eyes
Mhm.
are so blue,
Mhm.
but you tan." And it's just, as a kid, you don't know how to answer it. You're just I mean, you're you 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 don't know. How do
Mhm.
you answer this? I mean, my mother, obviously, I knew my dad was black and I knew my mom was white when I was 7, 8 years old. So I would, just be like, my dad's Bohemian,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
then it was like, oh, but it was
Mhm.
never offensive. Like, that question was never offensive.
Were any of the adults that you were with, whether you were with your mom, your grandparents, a mentor, or whatever, were any of them ever offended by that question? Like if
No,
it was, oh, okay, yeah.
no.
Mhm.
Um, And honestly, the ones that I can remember one happening in Macy's. It happened in Macy's one time. It happened when I was getting my hair done one time. Um, because my mother actually, in the beginning, when I was super young, that 6, 7 range, would take me to a white hairdresser. And so someone in there would always ask. And usually my mother was sitting reading a magazine, so she didn't even really hear it.
Gotcha.
Um, it wasn't, for me, it was just so normal and so natural that I didn't even know that something was supposed to be wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Mhm.
Um, I would say it would get a little weird when people would try to touch my hair. Uh, and I
Mhm.
can understand that that's a curiosity. You know, my hair's straight, it's bone thin. Well, not my hair, but
Yeah.
the person's hair is straight, bone thin. They haven't seen my hair before where it's got those curls the way that I have. And I can see them being curious and wanting to know is it soft? What's the texture?
Yep.
It's just weird when people just at, at least ask,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep. But
It
that
but it is weird when people just reach out and touch you. That's
yeah,
I don't know if it's offensive.
I
It's just weird.
I think that some people just feel like there's permission no
Yeah.
matter what. I mean, the only comparison that I can really compare that to is when I was pregnant and I was showing. All of a sudden, everybody and their mother wanted to touch my belly. Like, you wouldn't have acknowledged me any other time, in any other space, in any other circumstance, other than the fact that I'm pregnant and I have a belly.
Yeah.
And it's people that, like, I have never met before. I have never seen them since then, but would just feel the compulsion to just reach out and touch my belly. And then
Yeah.
it continued after we had him too. We would be in the store and people would just like reach for him and touch him and try to that one woman in the store tried to pick him up. I'm like,
Okay, that's different. That
you know
that
what I'm
was
saying?
weird.
But like that's really like
That's
the
not
only
safe.
comparison that I can give is like it's almost like
I
there's a
just I
permission.
wouldn't I wouldn't say, to me it doesn't come across as offensive so much as it just comes across as weird.
Mhm.
Same thing when people want to touch your tattoos. If you have a sleeveless shirt and people want to touch your
Or
arm
you have
tattoos,
muscles or
right?
whatever, yeah.
It's weird, but it's not offensive to me. It just
Yeah. I mean, I
okay,
just think that it's the choice of word.
yeah,
You know, it being offensive, I don't think it's offensive. I think it's a boundary
yeah.
issue. I think it's
More
a
than it's
personal
offensive.
space issue more than like offensive. But also too, you know, if someone asks a question about, you know, your appearance or something like that and you take it offensively, that's that whole conversation of like why is that triggering you? Why is that a touchy subject for you?
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't it doesn't take away from the offense that might have been like their purpose to ask the question because they want it to be offensive, but you're the one that's taking it offensively. So
it's
what's the deeper root of that?
it's a tough. I've thought about this before, and as I've gotten older, I realize, somebody else's reaction or how they approach me or whatever. The only thing that I can control is my reaction to the person.
Mhm.
I don't know if they're just being curious or if they are trying to be offensive. I mean, you can hear tones, voices. You try to navigate the social situation, but I, I can take it however I want to take it. It's just,
Mhm.
am I willing to, maybe be, oh, this person is just curious, never seen gay people before, never seen my hair texture before, never seen,
Mhm.
I don't know, somebody with a tan with blue eyes and a big nose. I don't know. It just it
Yeah.
but that's
Mhm.
that's on me. That's my own personal responsibility and the accountability that I have to take.
Mhm. It doesn't and again, it doesn't take away from the fact that someone might purposely be trying to be offensive
Oh, of course.
because people are.
Yeah.
They just are. Um, but the most important part is how you respond to that comment or question or statement that's
Yeah, the
being
one
made.
I the one I found today, which kind of triggered this conversation that I wanted to have, was the one. I don't know her real name, but her Instagram handle is big sexy
Oh,
81.
she's great.
She's hysterical, right? And so someone asked her, if you don't like men and you're not attracted to men, why do you want to look like a man? And her response, which I thought was
Was
amazing,
brilliant.
right, was like,
Brilliant.
"Who said I didn't like men?
Mhm.
I love men. I hang out with men all the time. It I appreciate."
Listen, I can appreciate a good-looking guy.
But that's how you go from maybe somebody coming to you and being mean about it or trying to be offensive about it, and you just being, "No, I
Yeah.
I don't think I'll be offended today.
Mhm.
I think I'll just have some fun and make a funny video and move
Yep.
on with my day."
Yeah.
And I love it. I can't. I mean, some of the ones I've had that question too. why do you want to look like a boy? And I used to take that offensively. I don't anymore. I don't think it's an offensive question. You might think that I do want to look like a boy. So
Mhm.
it's not offensive to me. I just uh, I answer it now for the last 15 years the same way. I'm not trying to look like a boy. I'm just wearing clothes that are comfortable to me.
Mhm.
So a spaghetti strap dress isn't comfortable for me. Skirts aren't comfortable for me. So I'm not trying to look like a boy. I'm not trying to be a boy. I'm trying to be comfortable in clothes. I have to wear clothes, so I'm just
Mhm.
trying to be comfortable.
And
But
where do you think that the shift happened? Because,
oh yeah, I was offended a ton, and I used to get pissed quickly.
and I mean, also me being your partner and being your wife, like I was like, Duke's up, let's go. Like
Yeah,
who are we gonna, I was ready to defend and whatever, because it was something that was so.
I changed my energy.
Mhm.
I just changed my energy. I don't need to fight everybody, and I don't need to come to blows with words. And if anything, I would then ask afterwards, "Hey, why do you think that I want to look like a boy?"
Mhm. So you'd kind of open the
Yeah,
conversation.
it just doesn't it
Did you also ever feel that like not everybody deserves to have all of me in a way? Like not everybody needs to know this. Like there are a lot of people that you cross paths with, like being in the store and just being out in restaurants and whatever, that like you're not going to see any other time than that. So it's
no.
not like it's
So
like that intimacy thing of like how much of
oh, are you
your.
talking about when people call me sir?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't have enough time for all that. If I had to explain myself to literally everybody that calls me sir,
Mhm.
I they would take up my entire day. I just
And you used to.
yeah,
And you used to, and you
and
used to try to every single person, and some of these people have known you for
yeah,
years.
they just
And
have always
yep,
said it, and
yep.
they think that, and kind of too, instead of breaking their psyche, I've learned over the years after trying to explain myself to everybody that walks through the door, I've
Hey, baby.
I've learned that trying to do that also breaks their psyche. They just look so confused and they look offended. You know what I mean? It's not even me being offended anymore, it's them being offended, and it's like, we don't all have to be offended today.
Yeah.
I can just move on with my day. I do not care.
Well, some people would argue that you're sacrificing yourself to keep other people comfortable.
No, I'm not. I really don't. I don't think that way at all. I used to. I used to think that way, but I now I don't. I
Mhm.
I just want to be comfortable. And me trying to explain to somebody who doesn't want to see that I'm a girl or acknowledge that I'm a girl, or me trying to go out of my way to prove to them something that they don't see, is sacrificing myself.
Mm.
It's sacrificing my energy, it's sacrificing my time, it's sacrificing my breath. I just that's what I'm sacrificing when
Mhm.
I try to explain it. So me just being like, "Okay, have a great day, sir," and then being like, "You too, dude. You too, my bud. You too,
Mhm.
bro. You too." Just, that's fine. It makes their day fine. My day is fine. My day's not wrecked.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's. I mean, like to be able to use a public girls' bathroom, but at the end of the day, I've accepted that that's not happening either. So it's fine.
Mhm.
But what have you gotten? What have you gotten over the years?
Well, I guess if you want to go hair for hair, I always get asked if my hair is real. Yes, my hair color is real. Um, yes, I've always been this tall. I think I was this tall at like 12 or 13. But honestly, I really started to get like the quote unquote what some people would take offensive questions, like when I came out as gay,
That's what I was gonna say.
when we were
Yeah, the
yeah,
last, like,
like
10,
when we
15
were
years.
trying to have a baby. And I think those are probably like the biggest questions that I get. A question that I got recently, which tended to be more of years ago. I mean, you and I have been together for 12 years, almost 12 years. So I don't get it as much anymore, unless we become part of a new circle of
Yeah.
people.
Right.
But being asked if I've ever been interested in guys.
Oh yeah.
So that's
Yeah,
the big
yeah, that's a
question
good
that I
one.
get. And the answer is yes. I grew up having boyfriends. I came out very late. I was openly I was openly gay when you and I got married. I think that's when I officially like started to say it out loud that I'm gay. And I always said I had a wife. But that statement of like I'm gay, I'm a lesbian, like that took me
A
some time.
long freaking time.
Yeah, sometimes do. I think what we were a couple years married before
Yeah.
um so yes, I did date guys like throughout high school and my late teens and early 20s before I met you. And then um the other question that
Wait, let's stick to this.
Go ahead.
Since you've that was when you came out and you were out and you were open. I'm just curious because I used to get it all the time too after people found out, especially dudes when that I was a lesbian. They'd be like, "Well, have you ever had the right guy? Have you ever
Yes.
had the right dick?" And
Yes.
my answer was always, "What's the right dick?"
Yes, I would get that question a lot too. Or it would be the statement of like, well, you haven't been with the right guy yet.
Yeah,
You haven't,
yeah,
and they're always like insinuating that it's themselves. And I'm like, no, thank you. I also know how many people you have slept with, and I don't really want to be a part of that team. So,
but I don't. Were you offended by that? I don't know if I was offended by that or if I just like the male bravado, the male ego. I'm not offended by the male ego. I just
I mean, again, it goes back to what's the definition of being offended. I think it was a difficult, challenging question for me because at that time I was coming out and I was trying to figure out who I was. And I was going through a tough time because I was coming out. And
you don't really want to hear that.
yeah. And it was like, I was already questioning a lot of things and trying to figure everything out. And, and then there was the times when I would tell people that I, had a girlfriend, and I got a lot of backlash from that. You know what I mean? Even friends that came along after and supported me after, it was like, I mean, one of my best friends in high school, when I told her that I had a girlfriend and that I think I'm gay, she's like, "You're not. We don't do that. We don't do that." Like, that's literally what she said. And then we went out to the mall, and I mean, talk about an embarrassing story, but we went out to the mall and she found me a guy and I had a one night stand with this guy. Like, that's like what it was,
Yeah. Were you kind of trying to prove to yourself that you weren't gay?
I guess. I mean, I was just trying to figure it out. And honestly, for me, it's because it was
Go ahead.
Hi, go
Yeah.
ahead. Go ahead, babe. Over there. Take True Brown with you. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Our boys are
Our boys are
whispering.
playing and doing things.
It's okay.
It's okay.
He'll go
Come
when
here,
he's
Poppy.
ready.
Come on,
He'll go when
Jabron.
he's ready. Okay.
Jabron.
He's fine. He's fine.
Okay.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Go ahead. Ask again.
Did you ever think you were trying to prove to yourself that you weren't gay?
I think partly because everybody else was trying to prove to me that I wasn't gay.
Right.
And again, I didn't know. It was, I met a girl and I started to like her, and then emotions turned into physical turned into sexual, and like I was like, oh my God, like what is happening? I was trying to figure it out. So for me, I think that anytime somebody like questioned or put their feelings and their opinions on me, I don't think I would call it offensive. I just think it was a challenging question for me at that time because I was struggling with my own insecurities and I was struggling with my own story of coming out and my own questioning of like, am I actually gay? Like, am I? Like, or do I just like this one girl? And you know what I'm saying? So again, I think it's the definition of what's offensive,
Yeah. Again, I think it's just if you take it offensive, then it's offensive to you. I don't
Mhm.
think it has to be offensive
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah, and again, and I know.
I used to get asked the question, "Is this a phase? This has gotta be a phase. It's
Yep.
a phase."
Yep.
And at the time, I was offended.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not offended,
Yeah.
or not even now, but
I
what
mean,
was it?
I don't even know if I would call it being offended. I think I was hurt. Like when
Yeah,
I.
because 'cause you're trying to get through something. You're
Yeah.
trying to figure something out.
And you're reaching out to people. I mean, we talk about coming out. So I was reaching out to people that were close to me, and I was family and friends, and trying to reach out and say that this is what I'm going through right now, and to have someone say it's just a phase.
Yeah.
This doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
And
I
then
guess you're right. That's more hurtful than
it was
anything
especially
else.
hurtful when you and I got together.
Yeah.
And then we announced that we were engaged, and I had, family tell me like that's great, but I don't approve of that. I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
And I had friends that were like, it's too fast. Like you're moving too fast. And at the end of the day, I can understand.
Well, we did move fast. We kinda U-Hauled it. We did the stereotypical lesbian thing. We definitely
Yeah.
U-Hauled it. So
But I
I
think
get
we're
that. I'm
doing
not.
just fine.
Yeah. I mean, over
I think we're
time,
doing
people
great.
realized it wasn't
Yeah.
too fast. But I if you were a family member, I can see where you might be like, "Oh, crap, too
Yeah.
fast."
Yeah. And
Um,
I don't think it was. I mean, looking back on it, like you said, probably at the time, yeah, it was probably offensive. But I think that looking at it through the lens of where I'm looking at it through right now, I think it was more hurtful than anything. So,
yeah.
hmm
I, what's another one? I love the one when you were pregnant, or no, when we were trying to get pregnant and we were bringing, the sperm to the gyno,
this is so fun.
and I
Yep.
would just be sitting there with this big, big
Cryo
cryo
tank.
jug of, sperm,
hmm
and
Now, for reference, the box is about this big. I mean, it's not even as big. It's probably more like from
the
my lap,
box no, the
from my
box is
lap up
gigantic.
here.
The jug is
Yeah.
not that.
Yeah. No, I mean, the cryo tank itself
Yeah.
is huge. And there's one or two vials that are literally this big
Yeah.
of sperm in
Mhm.
them that would be, before we got to a specialist, yeah, they would be delivered to our house. And then we would have to put them in the car and take them with us.
But there would always be this room full of pregnant women or women with
Older
children.
women always wanted to
Yes.
know.
And
Yep.
you would sit down and I'd be sitting next to you holding it, and they would
Well, you have to tell the actual story, tell the whole story.
oh, when I
When you walked in and
oh,
the
well, the first
receptionist didn't know why we were.
yeah, the beginning was when we walked in, I walked up to the receptionist and you were checking in, and I was holding this whole, um, the big cryo tank, and she just looked at you and was like, "What are you here for?"
Mhm.
And she's like, "My appointment." And, and I'm standing there holding it, and the lady just didn't get it. And you were like, "Look it up. Like, look up what we're here for." And I was like, "Oh, you're gonna make me say this?"
And it was a
And she
waiting room
full of
full of
people.
women, of women. Oh my god, it was so
And
many
she's
women in
like,
there.
"What is that?" And I was just, "Seriously? What do you mean, what is this?" And I was, "Okay, she's gonna make me say this." It's the cryo tank full of sperm.
Mhm.
And she, "Oh my
And you
goodness,"
heard the
and
little
blah, blah, blah,
chuckles and
and
the little
yeah,
smiles
it
and
was
the head
just I was
downs
like,
and
"Oh, I'm gonna say it. Okay, got it.
yep. So then the
I'm
nurse
going to say it."
came and got it, brought it in the back, and
Yeah.
we sat down and we were just sitting there and like clockwork, this little woman that was sitting next to me kind of leans over and goes, "Can I ask you a question?" And I was like, "Sure, go ahead, ask away. Like, knock yourself out." And so we had a conversation about, you know, IUI and what we were doing and why we were there. And um, so,
Yeah.
but again, it wasn't offensive to me. It was, again, a difficult, challenging conversation because we had a very difficult time getting pregnant.
Yeah.
So every time that someone wanted to ask me how it was going, how do you do it? What, like, why do you do it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, those type of questions were just challenging for me to to talk about and answer. But I never felt like any of the questions when it came to us trying to get pregnant, how we got pregnant, how we chose the donor. I never felt anything offensive about them. Every person that asked me a question was genuinely just curious.
Yeah, I think that's the thing too. You don't know what the person's going through when you start asking these questions. And if
Mhm.
they're willing to answer these questions,
Yep.
that's a big part of it.
Yep.
Um, and there have been times where it's just been a tough day for me, or I'm going through something or whatever. I have my period and I don't feel like answering your questions. And in that moment, your questions feel stupid.
Yep.
But if you talk to me a day later,
Mhm.
I'd be like, oh, sure, ask me anything you want.
Yep.
And I think that's the thing, is that
Mhm.
person in the space to be able to answer your question.
Yep.
And that's fair. I feel like that's fair.
Yeah. So that's I got a lot of questions about how we got pregnant. Um and then in turn, you know, a lot of statements that are said. This isn't really like a question, but whenever we talk about how big our son is, because our son is huge, and they estimate that he's gonna be 6'5",
Yeah, 6'4", 6'5".
6'4", 6'5". And the response is always looking at both of us, knowing that we're both women, and goes, well, you both are tall.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's one of those things of like, okay, do they think it's her egg?
I can never tell. Do you feel like those people that say that, are they just trying to be respectful of me because they know that I'm not the father? I like
I mean,
or
that's a really good
I
perspective to
I
think of.
never I never yeah, I started to kind of wonder, because the people that or people that say it know that I'm a woman, have known
You've
me
grown
for
up
a
with
very
them.
long
Yeah.
time, and it's almost I kind of curious to know if they're saying that because
They're trying to
they're trying
honor you.
to be
Yeah.
respectful of me.
Mhm.
But I usually always answer that with, well, we picked a donor that was as close to me as possible. That
Yep.
was my height, my weight, eye color,
Yep.
stuff like that,
Yeah,
whatever.
me
So
too. Me too. And again, it from a genuine curiosity place or whatever, it could be, because when he was younger, I mean, he really did look like you.
yeah, he did.
He looked like you. He had tight, tight curls, blonde, the same way that you did. To my knowledge, and with me asking my mom, like I never had curly hair. So that comes from his biological father.
Yeah.
Like that's not from my genes. So, which is so amazing because that's how your hair was when you were younger. So
I was super blonde. Yeah.
yeah, and so it could have very much come from a place of people thinking that we took your egg and then implanted it
Yeah.
into
What?
me.
Tell didn't you have a weird question at the supermarket, or someone got asked if he was adopted, if we adopted him?
Yes.
That
Yes.
it's like, you saw my wife pregnant.
Right.
What?
Yes.
But it was just again, not offensive, but just weird, dude.
Mhm.
Where?
Well,
Why?
and also especially now because the bigger that he gets and the more he grows, he looks just like me.
Yeah, he
Like
does.
there's that whole like you can't deny this kid. He looks just like me. Um so I mean there was those questions. Usually those are the big ones, like questions about my sexuality and like, have I always been gay? And questions about our kid and,
Yeah.
when and how and, whatever. And again, just during those difficult times, they were just challenging questions, but I don't think I took offense to so many questions. There was a time when I did take everything offensively.
Yeah.
If you openly would say something that was against my list, I guess you could say, of who I am. I'm a woman, I'm gay, I'm married, my
Yeah.
wife is mixed, we have a child, and fill in the blank. If it was somebody that was saying hurtful things about those,
Yeah. You get into a heightened state.
I guess
Absolutely.
groups of people that I'm
Yep.
a part of because of my characteristics and because of who I am, I would get very offended for that, especially people and family that I was like, "Oh my god, you love me. How can you believe this? How can you say this? How can you this and whatever?" Um, but it comes from a conversation of we're all doing the best that we can, and we all do the things that we feel like are best for us and our family. So it's not personal. I guess it goes more back to that, like, two things can be true.
Yeah.
You know, I can still love you for exactly who you are. I can also not agree for my personal lifestyle with certain things.
Yeah.
And I think it's a choice. I think it's a choice to
Come here, dog.
these boys
I
need
know.
attention today. I think it's a choice on whether you choose to take it offensively
Yeah.
or not.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
Absolutely.
okay to just say, and I think I've said this before, it's okay to just separate yourself from certain people. That's also okay. If you feel like things that they said are not good for you and
I
they
wonder
don't understand,
I have this question. I wonder if straight people get this the way that we do. You know what I mean? I really do.
I doubt it.
I wonder if because right, you have to get explained to how straight people have sex. You have to get explained that as a kid, every kid has to understand what that is.
Yeah, but there's no further conversation from that
Right.
because
So,
you see a straight couple and it's like, okay, cool.
yeah. Yeah. I and it it's becoming a little weird to me just because you have now seen gay couples everywhere. They have plastered gay men, lesbians, bisexuals, they thems, they've plastered them everywhere now. So
Mhm.
how what are you doing?
Sorry, I was
Oh.
having my water.
How you know, how weird can it be now?
I don't
But
know.
I mean, it's fine with me. I guess I don't care. I'll answer anything. Ask me anything. It's fine. I'm good with it. But
Or I can also say, you know what? I don't really feel like answering
yeah,
that question.
I don't. I'm at that age now. I
Yeah.
don't care. I'll answer you.
Yeah.
Whatever. Somebody asked me one time. Oh God, this is good. Someone asked me one time, "How do you scissor as a lesbian?" I was like, "Uh, I don't know. I don't get into that
Oh
position.
my
That's a very
god.
awkward freaking position to get into. I don't
Mhm.
know why you would want to. That's a whole lot of core work, and
Mhm.
I and I mean shoulder stability. I don't know.
Mhm.
I have
Mhm.
no idea. But it's just weird random stuff which is fine, but also too I probably don't have the answer to half this weird crap you see on television. Like gay life isn't, you know, most of what you see on TV.
Mhm.
Except for a Subaru and a
A Jeep.
Jeep and I don't know, a disco ball. But other than that,
Mhm.
it's not it's not that.
Yeah.
It's it's very different. And half of the stuff that people ask me, I don't know, I've never done, I've never seen. And you know,
I also think it goes, like, to those type of questions, like, it's none of your business.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, get out of my bedroom.
I don't know, but sometimes you want to have fun. Like you have those parties, never have I ever, or whatever, and
Yeah.
you ask those questions, and it's funny, and you do it
Yeah.
with a group of friends that you're friends with, announcing it to the, you know, everybody that's in the room that you don't know is kind of weird. But
Mhm.
also, man, I've reached that age. I just don't care. It really doesn't matter to me, and I think we've gotten to a place, especially in the gay community, where our elders aren't talking like that anymore. We're not there for our youth. We're not there for to explain things, to explain how it went, to explain what it was like, to explain figuring it out. And I think that's part of the reason at least why we have this complete rebellious nature now within within the gay community.
Mhm.
And it's so somewhere I don't know if we just everybody felt fine and everybody was comfortable and felt safe and we just stopped talking and we just stopped explaining things and being open about it because that's what the gay community always was.
Yeah.
You know, what you had and you
Just
helped
had
out
you had
and
conversations,
yeah, you're
yeah.
like, "Hey kid, it's going to be okay. You're going to figure it out." You
Mhm.
know, Don't worry, take your time. You don't need to proclaim yourself right now.
Right.
You're figuring it out. It's going to take some time. It's okay to have these feelings, whatever, whatever. Now it's just like, oh, I think I don't know who the hot girls are now, but I think Angelina Jolie's hot. So, okay, you're gay and you're a boy.
Right.
And we can't have these conversations, these like just fun conversations that we always used to have and be able and nobody took offense to them and we could just sit around and chit chat and answer questions and have fun and you talked.
Mm-hmm.
It's immediately if you ask a question, it's, "Oh my God, no, don't, you can't ask me that. That's ridiculous.
Yep.
You're
Yep.
this, you're that, you're every kind of phobic ever."
Yep.
And it's just, or maybe I just had the question and I just wanted to know for so I can make an informed decision.
Yeah.
Like it's
Mm-hmm.
not, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
yeah, so
Yeah.
we're here. If anybody ever wants to ask us anything, please feel free.
Yeah.
Our life's pretty much an open book. So
Yeah. I mean, the only other question I think that that I can think of is that we've gotten the question on, why did we choose the donor that we chose and why didn't we choose someone that we knew?
oh
We used to get that question a lot
yeah.
too, of like, why didn't we choose somebody that we knew? Um, and I mean, I can answer this. I was very, very adamant about not having somebody that we knew in protection of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because as much as men say, as much as a parent says, as much as a woman says, like, I don't want this kid, I'm going to sign my rights over the minute that this kid is born
Yeah.
or before, you don't know how you're going to feel when you see that kid. And I just never wanted that to be a thing
Yeah.
for you.
Of course, the minute that you see a child, the minute that it looks like you, it has your mannerisms, that genetic
Yep.
connection that you have.
Yep.
Yeah, of course.
Yep.
And honestly, and after having thought about it forever, there's nothing I could do about that. It's your dad. You know what
Yep.
I mean? And we picked an open donor specifically so that when he comes of age, if it's possible and he wants to go try to find his dad, he can.
Yep.
And I'll have no problem with that. But right now I'm his parent
Yep.
and hey, but yeah, I mean it's the same thing. I went and found my dad when I was what, 30?
Yep.
So it's
Yeah, and I know that initially when we first started talking about it, that there was thought that you did kind of want somebody that was close,
yeah,
that
I
we
didn't
knew.
think it would be an issue. I didn't, you know,
Yeah.
I didn't see it. I didn't see what the ramifications could be of that for the biological father, for him, for me, for you to have to
Hmm.
juggle between, Uncle Alex and mom.
Yeah.
Like
Hmm.
that's a tough one.
Yeah. And that's why it was so important. And I know that we had a lot of conversations about it and a lot of feelings about it. And I was like, no, like,
Yeah.
there's not too many things that I was so blunt about, but that was like, no, I don't want somebody
Yeah.
that we know. I don't want someone that could, fight for rights all of a sudden after, because again, you don't know what it's going to feel like.
Yeah.
Um, and then I guess the last question, pertaining, us being mothers or whatever, is that we get the question of like, how do you feel being two women raising a son without a father figure?
Yeah.
And I'm not worried because we surround our kid with some pretty awesome guys. We
Yeah.
have a lot of awesome guys that we, trust to show him guy things. I'm not a guy. I'm not trying to be a guy. I don't know what it feels like to be a guy. So what we do is we create a village and we create a team and a tribe to be able to give him that space
Yep.
and have those people answer those questions that we can't answer.
Yep.
Did you ever worry about that?
Of course. Of course. And that again, that's why we chose to surround him with the most honorable dudes with the most integrity that are some very smart men that and also just have a good freaking time. and they have a good time with him, and they wrestle with
I
him,
say
and
throw him up and
yeah,
down
they throw
and
him around, and he bounces off of things and then gets up and does it again. And
Mhm.
they're nuts together.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's great to watch. It fills me with joy when I see it. And he's got, relationships and dudes that will look after him his entire life and be proud of him when he accomplishes things, and be there for him when he doesn't.
Yep.
And it's cool, and it's the best that we could do. And all the support that we can give him in school, out of school, around town, the village, everything, we'll give him. And that's what works for us and what we decided to do as a family. It might not work for other people, but for us it does.
Mhm.
So, we're trying to just raise a good man, to be helpful and productive in society and with the
Mhm.
people that he chooses to have around him. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, but yeah, we're here. Ask us anything. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, wherever. Find us. We'll answer anything. We don't get offended very easily. So
Nope. We don't.
that was fun.
Okay.
Clinton, thanks. Out.
Bye.